Because activity-based costing is a method for more accurately assigning overhead costs to the products that create them, let's take a look at Lily's overhead. Total overhead for Lily Ice Cream Company for the most recent year was expected to be $1.74 million as shown here. The number of gallons of ice cream expected to be produced during the year was 1.5 million. Under Lily's traditional overhead allocation process, the predetermined overhead rate is computed as follows. $1.74 million in overhead costs divided by 1.5 million gallons equals $1.16 in overhead per gallon. This $1.16 amount is the overhead cost assigned to each gallon of ice cream, no matter what the flavor. Now, to keep this example simple, we will assume that the actual amount of overhead costs and the actual number of gallons of ice cream produced were equal to the expected amounts. Now, consider what it means to assign $1.16 in overhead costs to each gallon of ice cream, regardless of the flavor and the specific production process involved in making that flavor. We are assuming that each gallon of ice cream requires the same amount of electricity to produce. As an approximation, this might not be a bad assumption. But we are also assuming that the production of each gallon of ice cream, be it vanilla, peanut butter swirl, or marshmallow caramel delight, creates the same amount of mess and thus requires the same amount of attention from the factory cleaners. This might not be a good assumption. We are also assuming that the flavor chemist spends the same amount of time testing the 5 simple ingredients for vanilla as she does testing the 25 chemically complex ingredients in gingerbread cheesecake supreme. This almost certainly is not a good assumption. Activity-based costing involves looking more carefully at what causes overhead costs. For example, the flavor chemist probably spends more of her time testing the 25 ingredients in gingerbread cheesecake supreme than the 5 ingredients found in vanilla. So, more of the $170,000 in flavor chemist overhead should be assigned to gallons of this flavor. The focus of activity-based costing is identifying activities that cause overhead costs and then assigning those overhead costs based on reliable measures of those activities. A better way to assign the $170,000 in flavor chemist overhead may be on the basis of the number of ingredients used to make the ice cream flavor. The 5-ingredient vanilla flavor would be assigned less flavor chemist overhead cost than the 25-ingredient gingerbread cheesecake supreme. In the topics that follow, we will illustrate and discuss the 5 steps in implementing and using an ABC system, which are, first, identify overhead cost activities. Second, analyze individual overhead costs in terms of those cost activities. Third, identify measurable cost drivers. Fourth, assign the overhead. And fifth, use the ABC data to make decisions. Now, let's take a look first at identifying overhead cost activities. We'll do that next.